Recently, I heard about a person who, on the one hand, was very smart and eloquent in her native language, but on the other hand, struggled with expressing herself in English. She's an engineer, and in her native language, which is Spanish, highly educated people are expected to use a more refined language with sophisticated terms and polished expressions. But because she didn't know such vocabulary in English and she refused to use simple words, her English was not improving. Hey guys, I'm Daniela, a non-native English teacher, a pronunciation nerd, and a foreign language and culture enthusiast. In today's video, I'm going to discuss why some smart people struggle with English more than expected and how they can bridge the gap between their perceived identity as an educated and eloquent speaker of their native language and a beginner in their second language. Some of the factors that might slow down the language learning process are cultural differences and social pressure, perfectionism, analytical thinking, and comparison to others. First, let's talk about cultural differences and expectations. Different cultures may place varying levels of emphasis on formal or elaborate language. In English, most people appreciate simpler and shorter words. Even highly educated people like using words that everyone can easily understand and pronounce as opposed to fancy vocabulary. In other words, many Americans prioritize clear communication over impressing others. But in some cultures, highly educated people are expected to use more sophisticated words. That's why some individuals who habitually use more complicated terms and phrases in their native language want to carry over this habit into their English. This could be because of fear of appearing less intelligent when switching to simpler words, especially if a person has been praised before for their command of sophisticated vocabulary in their native tongue. But as we all know, when we start learning a new language as adults, it's impossible to start using big words from the get-go. It's almost like expecting a baby to start running before having learned how to crawl. The next factor is perfectionism. Don't get me wrong, having high standards is great, but many intelligent people may have such high standards for their performance that they may freeze if they think they perform less than perfect. And while striving to speak well and with fewer mistakes is important, perfectionism and overcriticism can lead to frustration and slower progress. Another factor is analytical thinking. Many highly educated people approach language learning so analytically that they focus on fully grasping every single grammar rule. While understanding grammar is beneficial in the long run, obsessing over every single detail slows down the acquisition process. After all, language is not math, and learning a language requires a certain dose of intuition and immersion. Another reason intelligent and highly educated people might struggle with becoming fluent in English is the constant comparison to others. Certain level of comparison is actually beneficial for learning because it motivates you to keep up and not fall behind others too much. But constant comparison with people who are already fluent can bring about anxiety and dissatisfaction. Okay, if you belong to this group of individuals, how should you actually approach learning English? You have probably already heard that making mistakes is okay, not knowing all grammar rules is normal, and there is nothing wrong with having limited vocabulary as long as you can communicate your thoughts. But although you've heard this many times, you still hesitate to speak. This is because these pieces of advice, although helpful to others, don't work on you. So I suggest that you double down on your personality and strengths, but with a twist. If using fancy multisyllabic words makes you feel good, go ahead and try to memorize some. But try to do it in context. Don't just memorize individual words, but try to remember a whole phrase with the particular word. Remember though, listening to someone who constantly uses big words can be tiring and quite frankly a little annoying. So mix these words with simple ones. I actually have a video about the power of simple words. I'll put the link in the description box. Check it out and you will see how you can communicate in a powerful way using everyday vocabulary. But again, if you choose to use super sophisticated words, use them sparingly. Try to use no more than 20% of such vocabulary while communicating and keep the rest of the 80% simple and to the point. This approach will help you present yourself as a clear and articulate communicator. Let's look at an example. Suppose you're talking about leadership. You can say, the good leader listens to their team and helps everyone work together to achieve goals. Now listen to this. The exemplary leader demonstrates adeptness in fostering synergy within their team, adeptly orchestrating collective efforts toward the attainment of shared objectives. How did that sound to you? I personally prefer the first one, but let's say you find it too simple and want to take it up a notch without sounding pretentious. You can mix up fancier and simpler words and say, the effective leader listens attentively to their team, adeptly guiding and coordinating collective efforts to accomplish shared objectives. See, you can sound sophisticated and relatable at the same time. When it comes to grammar, striving to learn the rules and eliminate mistakes is awesome, but try to engage all your senses and don't rely solely on intellectual analysis. Acquiring a language takes a certain dose of intuition. Try to feel the language and don't overanalyze it. Every language has exceptions from the rules, so accept the reality and try to have some fun. Your analytical brain will always make you ask questions and notice different things, which is great. Use this to your advantage. Notice what kind of mistakes you usually make and focus on understanding that particular rule while memorizing the exceptions. Remember though that it takes time, so try to be a little more patient. Look at yourself as a slightly different person while speaking in another language. This might help you have a little more fun. When it comes to comparison to others, simply telling highly educated people who come from cultures that constantly compare people not to engage in comparisons is not going to work. If you tend to compare yourself to others, try to look at it as a form of inspiration. Tell yourself, if the other person has done what I want, I can do it too. You might also ask the person you compare yourself to give you some advice. But at the end of the day, remember that everyone is different. Okay, my friends, I hope this video was helpful. If you took away something from it, please click on the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet. I will greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.